I'm Edith. It's been 6 months since the storm hit, and I'm sitting at my kitchen table on a quiet Saturday morning in January. The pale light filtering through the window over the sink is unforgiving, showing everything as it is. I have a mug of coffee in my hands, and there's no one to worry about, no one whose mood I need to track. It's just me, and this moment of peace is a far cry from the chaos that ensued. 6 months ago, I was in a completely different place. I remember that fateful Sunday afternoon like it was yesterday. I had just walked into my parents' house, and within 11 minutes, my world was turned upside down. My father, a stern and no-nonsense man, sat across from me at the table and said, as casually as if asking for salt, "Your sister, Lily, owes $240,000, and you're going to pay it." My parents live in a small, cozy house in a quiet neighborhood. My father, Henry, has always been the head-strong type, a man who believes in family unity above all else, often at the expense of fairness. My mother, Rose, is more gentle, but she's always deferred to my father's decisions. I looked at my mother, whose hands were in her lap, and I could tell there was something she wasn't saying. I asked, "How long have you known?" My father's jaw tightened, and he brushed off my question, insisting that it was a family matter and I should pay the debt. When I pressed my mother for an answer, she finally looked up, her face a mix of guilt and fear. I had always been the responsible one in the family. At 32, I had a stable job as a marketing analyst, and I was used to taking care of things. But this was too much. My father's ultimatum, pay the debt or be cut off, was like a punch in the gut. I had imagined arguing, crying, or pouring out all my pent-up feelings, but instead, I simply said, "Then I'm not," and walked out. The drive home was a blur. I remember the gray Indianapolis streets, the heater clicking on, and my hands steady on the wheel. When I got to my condo, I sat on the kitchen floor and cried for 12 minutes. It was as if the tears were a release for all the years of being the reliable one, the one who never asked for much. After that, I decided to check my credit report. I had always been cautious about my finances, so I had a monitoring service. When the report came up, I was shocked. My credit score had dropped 193 points in just 3 months. As I went through the report line by line, I discovered accounts I didn't recognize. 4 years ago, Lily had come to me with a business plan for a trendy cafe in a hip part of the city. She was full of energy and enthusiasm, and she didn't have a good enough credit history to get a loan. My father had convinced me to co-sign a $45,000 loan, assuring me it was just a formality. He said if Lily made her payments, I'd never even notice I'd signed anything, and if something went wrong, we'd handle it as a family. But now, looking at the credit report, I saw that the original loan had been refinanced to $87,000 without my authorization. There were also other business lines of credit and a personal credit card, all in my name, totaling $240,000. It was clear that someone had used my personal information to open these accounts. I called my friend, Ava. She's been my rock for years, a calm and rational presence in my life. She came over with a bag of takeout, which we never ended up eating. As she went through the credit report, she pointed out that this wasn't just a co-signing problem. It was a case of identity theft. I started to piece things together. I remembered how Lily had always been good at getting what she wanted. And my parents, who had always favored her, must have known about at least some of this. I thought back to my 18th birthday. My father had brought home a beautiful new laptop, and I thought it was for me. But it was for Lily. He had said, "You're smart, you can figure things out on your own. Lily needs this more." I had accepted it then, thinking it was just a small sacrifice for the family. The next day, I went to work as usual. I answered emails, contributed to a meeting, and pretended like everything was normal. But inside, I was a mess. After the meeting, I called a consumer fraud attorney, Mr. Thompson. He set up an appointment for Thursday. In the following days, I gathered all the documents related to the original loan and the fraudulent accounts. Ava came over to help me organize them. It was clear from the documents that there were forgeries, and Mr. Thompson said there was enough evidence to file a criminal complaint. My father called me multiple times, and Lily sent me texts asking me to talk. But I ignored them because Mr. Thompson had advised me not to discuss the case with anyone who might be involved. On Wednesday evening, my mother came to my apartment. She sat down and pleaded with me to work things out as a family. She said Lily had made mistakes, but she was still family, and we shouldn't let this destroy us. I asked her how long she had known about the refinancing and the other accounts. Her silence said it all. I asked her to leave, and she cried in the hallway. The next day, Mr. Thompson called to tell me that the police report had been flagged, and the case was being referred to the FBI Financial Crimes Division. I knew then that there was no going back. A few days later, Lily, along with my parents and my aunt, came to my apartment. Lily was crying, saying it was all a misunderstanding and she thought she could fix it. My father said they would do whatever it took to make things right. But I told them that it was too late. The case was in the hands of the federal system, and I couldn't change my mind. Lily collapsed on the floor, and my father, who had always been so strong, also sat down, his face in his hands. My mother finally admitted that she had known about the refinancing 2 years ago but had chosen not to tell me. She said she was sorry, and I believed her, but it didn't change anything. In the end, Lily pleaded guilty to 2 federal fraud charges. The fraudulent accounts were discharged from my name over 4 months, and my credit score was 11 points higher than it was before all this started. My relationship with my parents is now more honest but also more distant. I don't expect the kind of closeness I once hoped for, but I've learned that being reliable doesn't always mean being safe. And I've found a new sense of freedom in standing up for myself. I take a sip of my coffee and look out the window. The world outside is going on as usual, and I'm at peace with where I am. I've learned that sometimes, the most loving thing you can do for yourself is to protect yourself from those who would take advantage of your trust.